All right, everybody, welcome back. Good late afternoon. We've got one more tight end video. We're just going to go through some depth options here. These are guys that, especially in the Seahawks circumstance, you wouldn't really want to look at as much more than a number three. If Kubiak's really going to be tight end heavy, you don't want one of these guys in a significant role. You want them in a minor role. Maybe you can find somebody who's specialized to your particular needs, but you wouldn't want to put too much on them. You'd want them to be guys who play maybe 15 snaps a game at most, unless there's an injury. All right, so let's go through some names here. We're going to go quick. Jordan Akins of the most recently Cleveland Browns, originally a Texan. I remember him as a Texan. He did have some pretty good years in Houston. Cleveland, he's been all right too. He's been, generally speaking, productive in years where he's had a decent quarterback play. And remember, in Cleveland, he is backing up David Njoku. So if there's anybody in this group that has a realistic chance of being a number two or starting caliber tight end, I guess it would be this guy. But I don't think you want to go into a season thinking that Jordan Akins is going to be a crucial guy to your offense. Graded well last year for Cleveland, 67.2. That's quite strong. Run blocking grade's really poor. And the previous year before that, the grade, not so much, 53.6. So not much consistency. I guess he's consistently a weak run blocker. That's the one thing he's consistent at. But, I mean, look, when you're talking about players at this level, when you're talking about players making this level of money, inconsistency should be expected. 1 year, 2.9 million. So that's a decent amount of money to expend on a number three tight end. But for my money, on a team that is going to be tight end heavy, it's not the worst idea in the world. I just don't think you want somebody like this that is mostly just a playmaker and doesn't really bring any blocking to the table. Kylen Granson, a Colt that's been there for the last 4 years. Now he's ready to spread his wings. Actually been pretty decent on the production front. He had a disappointing 2024, did not improve on his numbers from the previous year. Kind of crashed to a point where he was not even as good as he was as a rookie. Very inefficient. 45 catch rate. Maybe you could blame that on Anthony Richardson, but regardless, didn't have the breakout year he was seemingly heading towards. He was improving every year, and 2024 he just kind of fell off. PFF was lukewarm on him at best, 58.3 last year, which is not the worst. Good run blocking grade, however. So that is notable. We are talking about not the biggest tight end in the world, though, so I don't know how much I would depend on him to be an inline road grader. And it is worth noting that even in 2023, when his numbers were good, his grade was still pretty poor. He's 6.8. His run blocking was really bad, and it seems like there's just something missing here. There's not much anything special around this player. He's just somebody who is generally worthy of staying in the NFL. Spotrac has 1 year, 2.3 million. I guess. I feel like I could spend that money a little bit better on somebody that has a little bit more oomph to offer. Tanner Hudson of the Cincinnati Bengals. Another guy who's a little bit undersized, but he's been bouncing around the league for a while now. He won a Super Bowl with Tampa. Didn't do much to participate, but he was on the team. Went to the Niners, Giants, spent last 2 years on the Bengals, and he actually was a pretty decent backup tight end for the Bengals. Over 500 receiving yards across 2 seasons, and you know he's not the focal point of that offense when they've got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and, well, not really Tyler Boyd anymore, but the point is, Burrow likes his receivers a lot more than his tight ends generally. So I do think that there's some impressive stuff you could say about what he did in Cincinnati. PFF last year was pretty complimentary of him, 67.4. Pretty tepid on his run blocking, though. Pretty lukewarm on that. So that doesn't seem like he's a great blocker based on the most recent year of evidence we have. I'll say this, though. The previous year, which was his best year in the NFL statistically, not only was he graded quite well, 73, He also had a very good run blocking grade, much higher than almost everybody we've looked at so far in this series. So maybe, right? Could be worse. I still wouldn't trust this guy to be a road grader because he's a little bit on the undersized side. He's kind of built like a wide receiver. Gonna turn 31 in November, by the way, so age isn't a big problem yet. Spotrac gives him the 1 year, 2.1 million. Sure, seems about right. I might be willing to do that if I believed in his blocking, but I don't know, man. It's something that's probably going to be inconsistent from year to year. Now, Alie-Cox. This is an interesting one to me. I know he's getting older. He's going to turn 32 right about the time the season starts. So age is becoming a concern for Alie-Cox, but this is a bigger tight end. He's pushing 270. He's got a lot of sand in his pants, and he's somebody that I think would fit in well. He's never been a big-time playmaker. He has had a few years where he's been a productive receiver, but he's never been a big-time playmaking receiver. He's had low catch rates at various points of his career. So you're getting a marginal receiving tight end who has some blocking upside. And hey, that stuff is valuable. So you look at this and you're like, he hasn't broken 200 receiving yards in 3 straight years, but that's not really what he's there to do, and that's not what he would be here to do. Last year, PFF thought he was okay. 40, I keep saying the wrong number, 64.5. But the run blocking grade's pretty decent, 64.2. So that's a lot better than most of the players we've looked at so far. And you take a look at the previous year to get an idea if it's maybe a fluke or not. PFF grade's just middling, 60.8. The run blocking grade is still okay. And I know 60 doesn't sound that great. I know that sounds pretty forgettable, and it is. And he's had bad run blocking grades in the past, but he's also had good ones. The point I'm trying to make is this beats the heck out of most of the players we've looked at so far. So if you're trying to get somebody with a little more size, somebody who can maybe offer that capable blocking from the inline position tight end, Alie-Cox is probably the veteran for you. And according to Spotrac, he's only going to cost $2 million. I'm not sure if I buy this. If somebody out there thinks he's a good blocker, I think it's going to be more like 2.5. But I do understand that he is about to turn 32. Maybe age pushes him down to 1 year, 2 million, like this says. But man, this is something that I might be. This has some appeal. Hunter Long of the LA Rams, originally a Miami Dolphin draft pick, has 8 career catches. So a receiving threat he is not, right? I think we all understand that. But in 2024, he actually played a decent number of snaps. He was out there for over 300 snaps, mostly as a run blocker. He was graded quite well in that area. He has a pretty positive reputation as a run blocker. His overall PFF grade was good. And not that it means a ton, but it means at least more than nothing. Pass blocking grade was good too. So Hunter Long is kind of your quintessential blocking tight end. I admit that he's not got a long track record of this, right? 2024 was the first year he played more than 105 snaps. But if you could get him for 1 year, 1.9 million, and you get a good blocker with no passing game threat out of it, that's not too bad. That's all you're going to need from him in all likelihood. That's all you would expect from him. Hunter Long could definitely be the guy. Definitely worth keeping in mind. Johnny Mundt of the Super Bowl champion Rams some years ago, went to the Vikings after leaving the Rams and has been modestly productive for the Vikings over the last 3 years. He kind of gives you maybe 1 catch a game, slightly more than 1 catch a game. Doesn't make any huge plays or anything, but he's generally effective, productive. There's not necessarily a ton to say here, but he does his job, and you're not going to be like disappointed he's out there. Going to turn 31 in November, so age isn't a huge deal yet. You look at PFF this most recent year, it was just kind of bleh, 57.2. Not bad, but forgettable. 55.5 run blocking grade. It is worth noting he was part of a good Vikings offense, but certainly not a major part of it. And he is a little undersized, so I wonder how much he would hold up as like a road grading run blocker. He did get a pretty good grade for it in 2023, but a lot of the time your effectiveness as a run blocker is contextual. I assume that if you had Johnny Mundt acting like a surrogate tackle, he would get beat up a lot, so you have to use him in the right way. But 2023, he was graded quite well, 70.8. So there's a capable player in here. He had reduced snaps in 2023, though, that worth noting. 1 year, 1.9. Yeah, probably worth that. Can't object to it. But very, very replacement level. Luke Farrell. Luke Farrell. I'm going to turn 28 in October. Been a Jacksonville Jaguar these last 4 years. Never really had a breakout year. Has 25 catches combined over the last 2 years. The best you can say about him is that he's always available. He's missed 2 games in the last 4 seasons. So he'll at least be present. Gives you a little bit less than a catch per game over the last 2 years. So I guess that's something. But it's not much more than nothing, right? So PFF last year, they thought he was barely passable, 57.7, below average. But run blocking grade was okay, 61.9. And the year before that, which was his best year statistically, it was about the same. And the run blocking grade was bad. So this is the frustrating part. You have all these marginal tight ends who barely belong in the league. And you really wish they could block so they could at least provide some value there. But it doesn't seem like a lot of these guys are good at it. This is one of the big inefficiencies in the NFL right now. Tight ends aren't blocking. Tight ends are being used as receiving threats only. And it gets a lot of these young tight ends to not work on their blocking. So these guys are so limited. Like, as much as Luke Farrell has a lackluster run blocking grade and doesn't have a great reputation as a blocker, he's probably one of the best guys we've looked at so far for that, just by virtue of having better than average size. And 1 year, 1.5 million for Luke Farrell. Sure. I mean, that seems about right. And if you believe in his ability to block above other tight ends you could get, it would be a pretty workable way of expending $1.5 million. But I don't know. This one, hard to decipher. One last guy, and then we are done with the position. Ross Dwelley. You might remember this guy because he got a touchdown against the Seahawks a few years ago. It was like one of 3 catches he made that season. It was, I think, a 38-yard touchdown or something like that. Maybe it was longer. But other than that, the highlight of his career was been 2020 when everybody on the Niners got hurt. So he ended up having to catch about 20 passes that year. Other than that, he's been very, very quiet his whole career. Had 1 catch for 5 yards last year, 1 catch for 12 yards the year before, 3 catches for 105 yards the year before, which is actually a little bit of a career highlight. So Ross Dwelley, he's in the league, and he doesn't offer much as a receiver. Now, this most recent year with Atlanta, played about 100 snaps, wasn't graded terribly well, 51.2. Run blocking grade was okay, I guess, but it's not been consistently good over his career, right? The 1 year he actually played a lot of snaps was 2020, and he had 6 penalties. So even though his play wasn't atrocious, there are some very limiting factors here. There's no sign that he's a consistently good run blocker or a notable player in any way. So this is your token vet min guy, just a guy who barely belongs in football. And 1 year, 1.4 million. That's what Spotrac says. I don't even know if he'd get that. I think he's going to get the flat veteran minimum, but something like that. I'd hope you could do a little bit better, especially if you're going to be running a tight end heavy offense. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Let me know what you think. We'll do another position tomorrow, but that should probably be it for the videos. Check me out on Twitch tonight, and go Hawks.